call to order the first Committee of the Whole meeting of 2021 on January 4th. And welcome to everyone. I think we just have one item on tonight's agenda. It's an important one we've been working on for a long time. The Park Avenue extension. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to staff and ask if you want to go ahead and present where we are on this and what you need for council to approve tonight.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Corman, and good evening, everyone. Members of the City Council. I'm Jim Seitz, the Transportation Director for the city, and we're here tonight associated with 3 agreements that we need with the Boeing Company related to the Park Avenue Extension project. And I've got a presentation, just a few slides I'd like to show you that I'm going to share right now. Oops. Okay, this property acquisition, there's 3 separate agreements that we're asking council to go ahead and allow us to execute with the Boeing Company related to the Park Avenue Extension project, as I mentioned. The 3 agreements are a permanent easement, a temporary construction easement, and a compensation for agreement for cost to cure. The purpose of the project, as Randy mentioned, we've been working on for quite some time, is to get another second access into the Southport area. This is something that we've been working on for several years. This diagram shows the actual improvements that will be constructed. The gray area is the street, green areas, landscaped areas, and the yellow areas that shows the pedestrian improvements that will be constructed related to the project. And in the future, Southport will also continue this road. On this diagram, it shows an interim connection to this area, but they also will be constructing a major road into the area as they develop the PS&E site. To get into the particulars of the acquisition, as I mentioned, there's 2 easements, one a permanent easement, one a temporary construction easement. The blue area shows the temporary construction easement, which is much bigger than the actual easement. We need this area to construct the improvements that will be both public and private. The red area shows the actual areas that will be constructed and will remain public. It's kind of a rectangular area that you see in red there that will become the permanent easements. But as I mentioned, we'll need to have much larger footprint to actually construct all the things that are necessary to be constructed in order to get these agreements in place. The other is the cost to cure, which I talked about. This is a real estate term that's used to talk about damages. Appraisers talk about the damages to a property when we don't buy it outright. There's certain rights that Boeing will retain and damages that we need to correct as a result of our project. One being the electrical distribution system, which is currently the yellow that shows on this diagram indicates where the vault is right now, their major vault that they access quite frequently for their major distribution system to the plant. This will have to be relocated to outside of the permanent easement area onto Boeing's property on both ends, and then conduits will have to be connected between those 2 in order for us to get this particular utility out of the area. There's a cost associated with that, which I'll go over in just a moment. Then there's also the closing of and removing of the Boeing's existing protected site entrance currently located at Lake Washington Boulevard north to a new location. This is the access that's just as you're approaching Southport Drive along Lake Washington Boulevard. You can see the new buildings in the background there to kind of give you a sense of where this site is at. But it's the driveway that Boeing uses. They call it protected site because during strikes, they need to have provided access for contractors and others that still need to access the plant, and they use that for this purposes. And it'll be severed by a new public road access, so they will no longer be able to have that driveway in place to serve that purpose in the future. So we'll be closing this site and making a continuous sidewalk through this area without the driveway. We'll be relocating that, building them a new protected site along Logan Avenue between 6th and 8th. It's going to be approximately 7th Street if 7th Street went over or connected to this area. But we'll also be including that in the cost to cure improvements that will be necessary and the costs to implement those. Also in the agreement are some of the other conditions. As any industrial site that's been there for decades would have, Boeing has certain environmental regulations that they have to follow, especially for construction activities that occur upon their property. So we're agreeing to fully comply with all those environmental laws and requirements that they're under by Ecology Order 8191 that they're operating the plant by. The city will also be getting all necessary permits, licenses, and approvals that are necessary to do the work. We're also putting together environmental management documents. Most of this work we do anyway, but we're making it very formalized in documents that Boeing can review ahead of time to make sure that they understand how we conduct our projects and make sure that they comply with the ecology order that they're under. They're also asking for environmental indemnity for any damages the city causes and on the site as a result of our work. All these requirements will also be applicable to future construction or any major modifications in the future as well, not only for the construction of the new road, but in place as we move forward. And as I mentioned, most of the time, these are just standard orders of business for us anyway. The Boeing company also is interested in also having the use of this area in the future for, it's not known exactly what they might need it for in the future, but obviously there are certain things that duct bank that's through there that might need some maintenance. They may have to go in and dig out something, but they want use of the property in the future. They don't want to unduly restrict our use, of course, so there's going to be notifications and so on, but in any case that if they have a spill or anything like that, they want access to the area, or if they need to move things across from one side of the property to the other, they want to have certain abilities to access the area. So we're granting that right as well. Just to summarize the financial impacts for the project, this particular phase of it, the right-of-way portion of it for the Boeing purchases, the temporary construction easement, which is about 62,000 square feet, is a little over $188,000. The permanent easement, which is a much smaller area, will be $640,000. That's total cost of $828,000 plus for the actual property acquisition itself, or the easement rights themselves. And then, as I mentioned, the cost to cure for us to do the electrical distribution system, removing the protected site, and constructing a new entrance is just about $1.3 million. So add those two together, we come up with a total right-of-way acquisition for these Boeing agreements at just over $2.1 million. Some of the upcoming milestones that we have on the project, this is, of course, is a very major one. We've been working on this for quite some time, and I'd like to acknowledge the amount of legal work that we received from the legal staff, in particular Leslie Clark and Cheryl Breyer. Spent a lot of hours working with the Boeing company and staff to get these agreements to where they are today, and we're obviously hoping to move forward with those and get them completed in January. The next big agreements that we'll be bringing to council will be the BNSF construction and maintenance agreements. We hope to have those ready in February. BNSF is predicting they'll start the work once we have the agreements in place in April. The Boeing power supply relocation work will occur between March 2021 and July 2021. And we plan on, once Boeing starts their work to relocate their power line, their power system, we will go ahead and advertise for our project and start planning to get our contractor in there. We want to give them a little bit of a head start to make sure that their activities don't conflict with our contractor. We do plan on awarding our contract in April, giving our notice to proceed to our contractor in May, and we hope to have the project open to the public November of this year. So we are, the action tonight is we're asking the council for approval of these agreements. The council agenda bill mentioned that these are draft agreements. We don't expect them to change, so we are telling you tonight that we're asking for your approval, but if there are any substantive changes that occur between now and before we execute the agreements, we'll bring those back to you before we actually execute the agreement with the Boeing company. And with that, we do have a committee report, and we're asking for approval of that.
Okay. Jim, thank you very much for that presentation. I have one question to kick things off, and then I suspect that council members may have other questions. But can you remind me? I know we've gone into quite a bit of detail in past meetings with Seco Development and the cost sharing approach on this project, and this is sort of a refresher. This is, of course, an important access point for the success of Southport and Seco Development projects, the various projects they have going there. And so presumably all these costs are part of the overall budget that was developed and then split appropriately with Seco, is that correct?
Yeah, let me give you a little bit of summary of how we're paying for the project. It's mainly funded through local revitalization funding, which is the state sales tax revenues. And the city's committed, council has committed $7.5 million of that funding towards this project. The actual project cost is closer to $8.6 million. The difference will be paid by the Seco company, or any amount above 7.5 will be paid by the Seco company through an agreement that we have with them.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, how about other council members? Questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Ms. O'Halloran?
Thank you. With regard to the access to the easement, Boeing's request, is there any possibility that they'll need to close that intersection or have major traffic impacts that we should be conscious of?
That's a possibility, but they have to give us, as any project that we would have where we have to go in and repair something, or if Boeing had to do something, we would have to give adequate notice to all property owners around the area. We'd have to have flaggers. So it really wouldn't be any different from any normal construction activity or other activities that we might need to do in the area. But it's something that since it is still their property and they sell property on both sides of the road, they don't want to limit themselves to future activities that they might need to do along the area. They don't anticipate anything, but it's just something that they want to protect their rights. But they're at the same time, they want to make sure that they don't infringe upon the rights that we're purchasing as well. So they've agreed to obviously give us lots of notice and work with us for any work that needs to be done within that area.
Thanks very much.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Also, I think, Jim, also in the agreement is a right for Boeing to have partial closures of the roadway over the course no more than so many minutes in course of a day to provide for fuselage transfers that come into their site that would go across Park Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions? I'm not sure if I'm seeing hands raised. I switched from my iPad to my computer and I might be missing something. So call out if you have a question, please. Okay, well, Mr. McGurvin?
I thought of something, thank you. So do we have, in this understanding, for the protected access site that we're relocating, do we have any idea on the future for that particular site? Or that, I know that's completely outside of this, but I'm just curious, additional plans since that access point's being removed for what that will look like in the future.
I'm not quite sure I'm understanding the question. We'll take out that driveway on Lake Washington Boulevard and we'll replace it with our normal street improvements such as sidewalk and planter strip and things like that. Is that the question?
Yeah, I guess that's what I was asking. Is it wouldn't be in the long-term plans that we would need that access for anything else, right?
No,
If we're
it's
taking
only
it out.
access to the Boeing, well, it's their old truck testing site there, so it's only accessing their particular area. And the city does have plans in that area for a sidewalk connections underneath that railroad trestle there. So
Right.
it's actually probably a good thing to have that access closed. It would basically provide for less conflicts not having a driveway there.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, well, with that, we have a committee of the whole report, which I'll go ahead and unless there's, can I ask if there's any concerns? Have people had a chance to see the report? I can read it quickly if you've seen it. Anyone want me to read it? Okay. I'm going to go ahead then and approve that and read it out tonight at the council meeting. And I believe that's all we have on for the committee of the whole agenda, unless I see any. Oh, yes, Ms. Benedetti?
I just wanted to welcome Council President Corman.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm honored, and it's certainly I'm delighted to be running these meetings this year. So thank you.
And I'm sure Council Past President is also delighted.
I have to tell you, it's great seeing everybody. And Happy New Year to everybody. And with that, Committee of the Whole is adjourned. And I'll see you all in about 44 minutes, I guess. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.